build railways in Wales, overcome many different obstacles in many different scenarios for many different gameplays.
In this video, we're going to give you a very quick overview for each of the modules and expansions in the Snowdonia Deluxe Master Set, so you can work out which ones you want to play.
Coming up.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University.
Now let's get to the scenario guide for Snowdonia Deluxe Master Set, game by Board and Dice. The base game of Snowdonia covers the surveying and construction of the Snowdon Mountain Railway in North Wales, from Llanberis to y Wyddfa. Players face rubble, rain and fog as they build their way to the summit. But with the Deluxe Edition, there are 17 complete other railways to explore, as well as a wide range of mini expansions. We're going to give you a brief summary of all of them, starting with the full expansions and then the minis. This is not intended to be an exhaustive how to play, this is just a flavour of what each module offers. Loosely speaking, I'll start with the more straightforward modules and build up to the ones which add more mechanics. The Britannia Bridge module covers the section of the Chester and Holyhead Railway between Bangor, on the coast of mainland North Wales, and the Irish seaport of Holyhead. This is located on Anglesey Island, and so players will need to build the Britannia Bridge to get there. This plays much the same as the base game, but it's a slow starting module, as the first section of track requires players to spend a lot of stone and then other resources to build the bridge. And the surveyors cannot commence their journey until it's complete. The Daffodil line runs through Herefordshire and Gloucestershire in western England, and was constructed over a portion of a disused canal. This module plays at most 4 players and introduces canal spaces which must be filled in with rubble instead of cleared of it. A new works option allows stone to be broken down into rubble. The player who fills in the last rubble on a canal card earns a daffodil as reward. And daffodils are worth an increasing number of points as players collect sets. There are also some new types of bonuses on station cards, including other ways to get daffodils. The Necropolis Railway runs from central London to the United Kingdom's largest cemetery in Brookwood. This is one of many modules to utilise the thinner fog variant, in which only the last excavation and track laying space is impaired, rather than the whole action. Necropolis plays like the base game, but with each player having one important common objective: to build in one of the burial plot spaces near the end of the rail, and to move their surveyor, who has sadly died, to that plot by the end of the game. Failure to do this results in the loss of 21 points, placing critical importance on this specific goal. BLAENAU is a railway not far from Mount Snowdon, running from the eponymous slate mining town to the port of Porthmadog. This module plays like the base game, except the railway is built from both ends, with players choosing their own starting end at the start of the game and not changing from that point. Excavations, track layings and station closures from the event track alternate from which end they execute. There are some new bonuses for the stations, and track maintenance triggers not from an event but when this middle station is cleared. The Mount HAKONE module covers the electrified HAKONE to Tozan line, which scales the Mount HAKONE volcano and hot springs complex in Kanagawa, Japan. The module introduces the lumber resources, which can be gained at 2 action spaces determined randomly at the start of the game. Mount HAKONE is a heavy building game, with extra build spaces available. The track cards each have 2 ownership spots, and stations are equipped with spar spaces, which are largely built using the new lumber resource. The NEUHAUSER BOCKERLBAHN was a hastily constructed railway in the Bavarian forests to transport trees which were felled by a storm in 1919. In this module, the rubble is thematically wooden rather than stone, and hence at the works you can convert it into coal, or you can transfer it to your lumber mill. This is where it has to be to score endgame objectives. Additionally, each player is allowed to construct up to 2 trains, which means there's up to 4 actions per round with this easier source of coal. Workers may produce iron or steel in the foundry directly, and there is no surveyor, making this a fast-paced module focused on building and excavating. The Bayerische ZUGSPITZBAHN is a rack railway running from Garmisch in southern Bavaria to the Zugspitzplatz near the Austrian border. This module replaces fog with snow, a new weather condition which adds rubble back onto the mountain. 2 cubes per space, with the number of spaces matching the excavation rate. You no longer excavate and build track in a strictly upwards direction. Now you may only build or excavate outwards from the current position of your surveyor, who may move up or down the mountain, and at the summit the surveyor pays rubble to travel by cable car up towards the high scoring spaces. The Jungfraubahn runs through the Bernese Alps in Switzerland, running largely through the Jungfrau Tunnel and notably running to Europe's highest railway station at Jungfraujoch. The module retains the snow weather from Bayerische Zugspitze and introduces dynamite for blasting through the tunnel. Dynamite can be gained at the works location and is then spent to flip and score a mountain tile. This would score the player 7 points and immediately be turned into 2 normal excavation tiles. Dynamite can also be spent on normal excavation to increase your work rate. The Mount Washington Railway is a cog railway which scales Mount Washington, New Hampshire, and is the 2nd steepest railway in the world. This module also utilises snow instead of fog, and it also utilises dynamite, but differently to the Jungfraubahn. The new action space in G allows excavation with dynamite, and this clears all rubble in one space for a single work point, at the cost of being sequenced later in the action order. Surveyors no longer scale the mountain. In this module, they will ride the Devil's Shingle at the end of the game. This is a makeshift and dangerous toboggan which was once used by employees of the railway to ride down to the bottom quickly. The surveyor will stop at the first station where you lack an ownership marker and score based on how far down he gets. The Wye Valley Railway ran along the River Wye from Monmouth to Chepstow in England and South Wales. This module introduces the tunnel mechanic. When clearing rubble out from a tunnel, the player must also pay stone in order to shore up the tunnel. This also allows the placement of an ownership marker which counts as track. Like the Necropolis, it features a thinner fog, and it introduces beer. Players building or surveying in a station with an unused beer icon may drink one of the beers in order to unlock a bonus from the postcard. Each of these is worth both an immediate and an end-of-game victory point bonus. The Malta Railway is a disused and largely dismantled line on the Mediterranean island of Malta. Designed to play quickly, the effects of rain and fog are much less than in Wales, and special bus cards, when drawn, will boost that rate further. Like Wye River, it features tunnels that need to be shored up, and water, daffodil, and dynamite tokens are all given as non-thematic station bonuses for the purposes of fulfilling some lucrative cards. The Bluebell line runs through Sussex from East Grinstead to Sheffield Park. Like Wye River, it has tunnels that need to be shored up and experiences thinner fog. But this module's main unique feature is the cricket match. You may commit your surveyors or labourers to the team, and when there are enough players to field a team, the match begins. In batting order, the players may spend resources to score runs, or they may be drawn randomly from the bag if no one spends. If the team meets a pre-agreed target score, which the players will agree on at the start of the match, then each worker or surveyor there will earn end-of-game bonus points. The cricket match is included in honour of Henry Holroyd, 3rd Earl of Sheffield, a noted cricket patron whose name is still borne by Australia's highest cricketing trophy and whose estate was serviced by the line. The Once and Future train is set in the Arthurian legend with several new mechanics. There is no longer an action space for collecting resources. Now, all of the cubes that are drawn each round are subject to a Solomon draft, with the first player, who has Excalibur, splitting up the cubes in any desired way, and then all players taking a pile of cubes in turn order. finishing with the Excalibur player. The first player is also allowed to cut the queue at locations B or F, and steel bars can be spent to increase the excavation, track laying, or surveying rate. A worker may also be temporarily left behind at the building to take an extra build action. This gives the module a variety of different ways to speed the game up. The QINGHAI-TIBET Railway is a 2,000 kilometre railway running from Xining to Lhasa through the Himalayas. Altitude sickness is the biggest risk, and players have 2 oxygen per round, or 1 in foggy weather. Each action in the game has a strong, medium and weak variant, and the player chooses how much oxygen to spend on boosting that action when resolving, giving a lot of variability to the choices made each round. Himalayan surveyors take photos, and so when a surveyor reaches a station, if it hasn't previously been snapped, that player may take a photograph to unlock an end of game objective. This can be done once per game and gives players a surveyor race to target them. Some tracks require reinforcement with either stone or iron ore when they're laid, and this is at the benefit of an additional ownership marker. The Channel Tunnel is a 2-player specific module in which the Channel Tunnel is constructed from Saint Procras in London to Gare du Nord in Paris. Each player tunnels independently from a separate side of the tunnel, and at some stage must acquire a tunnel boring machine as a train. There are no surveyors, the weather is thematically replaced by crisis, and the game ends when the players' tunnels meet somewhere near the middle. The Siege of Petersburg is a 2 or 4 player game set during the US Civil War. As in BLAENAU, the track will be built from both ends, but players are allowed to build or excavate from either end at any time, regardless of surveyor position. Instead of weather, the weather discs drive the progress of the siege. A rain disc drives the Union's general forward, and a fog disc advances the Confederacy. When the two meet, it ultimately triggers the end of the game. Players then score many of their contract objectives based on which general won the siege, or based strictly on which side of the meeting point their ownership markers lie. The new H action gives players some control over the advancement of the generals. Additionally, there are some new types of station buildings that take rubble as part of the payment. Finally, the Trans-Australia Railway connects Sydney through Melbourne to Perth across a sunburnt country of sweeping plains, droughts and flooding rains. The game includes water as a resource that can be collected at Action A. Water must be spent to do any work or surveying in the long and desolate Nullarbor Plains, either side of Cook. But any work done here scores double. Extreme weather brings drought, which blocks the work actions like fog, unless a player spends water, or floods, which flood out the early stations and cancel any points from those cards unless someone excavates the water. The track goes through 3 breaks of gauge, and some of the new contract cards score points only for a certain type of gauge. With so many extra mechanics, this and the Siege of St. Petersburg are probably the most complex of the new modules in the game. The game also has a suite of mini expansions. Not all of these are compatible with every module, so check your rulebook. With the Goats mini expansion, place a goat on each track card. You can only build a track if your surveyor is at the previous station to shoe or capture the goat. Goats are then scored as if they were a station or rubble for endgame contracts. With the Wagons mini expansion, wagon cards can be built with the build action and carried behind your train, each offering an end of game objective. Action card H adds a forgiving element by letting you take a contract card which has previously been discarded. Contract card 31 and the Great Bridge Scrapyard Station let you score for or cash in your train. Contracts 32 and 33 let you score for or cash in your surveyor. The Unpredictable Weather event randomizes the next weather disc. The Seasons module progresses through the seasons of the year, and the effects of the different weather discs will shift depending on the season. Sheds serve mechanically as a train, except the maintenance cost is to discard a card instead of a steel bar. Share and Share Alike turns Snowdonia into a classic train game, allowing players to buy shares in opponents' companies and place opponents' ownership markers, sharing victory points like never before. The Mystery Train is a new action space giving you the chance to buy a random card from the extensive collection of promotional and joke trains in the game. which can themselves be mixed into your heart's content. The Summit, the North Pole, Penny Girid, and Llanfair Pithgwingl Kundrobl Hantisilio provide extra, geographically and appropriate stations that you can build to and attempt to pronounce. You could build a castle at one of the stations as long as your surveyor is there. And finally, the Yeti moves up or down the mountain based on the weather, and if your surveyor pays in coal, he will excavate or lay track on your behalf. And that's the guide to the Snowdonia Deluxe Master Set. We hope you enjoyed the video and we hope you enjoyed playing the different scenarios.
If you enjoyed this video, please help us by hitting the like button, subscribe to us. You can also hit the Meeple in the corner to do so, and hit the bell icon so you'll be one of the first to know when we have new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram for my board games reviews.
And if you have any questions, comments or feedback, please write them in the comments section below.
Until next time!